Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Warrenville City Council regular meeting for August 20th, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Something I said?
I just remember another commitment.
Alderman Ashour.
Here.
Alderman Berry.
Here.
Alderman Bevere.
Here.
Alderman Davalos.
Here.
Alderman Goodman.
Here.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Widener.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Here.
Would you stand as you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the time we set aside for citizens' comments. Most of the folks tonight have signed up to speak to item 6A, which will be certainly pulled off the consent agenda. So I'll have those people speak at that time. If you have another topic that you wish to speak about tonight, we'll do that right now. 2 people have signed up with something else to say. Sheila Range and Laura Hall. So if you'd like to come to the podium and speak your piece, this is your opportunity. Sheila or Laura, either one or both. We'll get you a microphone. Sure.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. That's good. Okay. I live on Briggs Street, 3 South 480 Briggs Avenue, and Briggs is south of Butterfield Road. It turns into Estes, which is west of 59, and I wanted to know what you're going to do about the semis that cut through off of Butterfield Road and go to this new street that goes to Duke Parkway that goes right to Amazon. Now, I have been down to the check-in wherever these trucks check in behind Amazon and talked to or discussed or whatever it is I did with these 3 people about the trucks cutting through. I went to Amazon office and told them. I called the Amazon corporate office. I called J.B. Hunt corporate office. I called another trucking company's corporate office. I went back behind me where this other warehouse with all these trucks are. And so 7 days a week, these trucks go down. Yesterday, I did jump in the car instead of running after him. He was stuck between Estes and Briggs, and he didn't know where he was going. He was very nice. So I just said, please pass the word that the trucks aren't supposed to come down a residential street. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Laura, we'll wait for the mic to come back.
Oh, shall I hold it? Hello. Okay. I am Laura Hewell. Do I need to spell that? Do you want me to spell that? Sure.
We've got it.
Laurahaule. I live at 30304 Fowler Circle in Warrenville. I'm going to try to follow my written comment here so I don't get off in the weeds and not take too much time. I want to thank you for your work, taking responsibility and your dedication to your efforts to lead Warrenville, protecting and serving our best interests. I especially appreciate your work with the county to protect and prepare for natural hazards. I congratulate you as you're also reporting progress on various climate initiatives. I would like to suggest that perhaps the greatest natural threat we are facing in this very contentious and challenging time is the inexorable march of global climate change. There are communities, states, and nations which are undertaking to move to 100% renewable energy future in the next 20 to 30 years, and that is a process that we could discuss in Warrenville, but it's not one I want to address tonight. One step that the council could take in the very near term with no budget impact, as your documents frequently say, would be a simple resolution or letter from the mayor and council asking our representatives in Congress to take action to address climate change. I believe that we need a national policy and program and to place a fee on carbon in the economy, and I have seen statistics from the Yale Climate Opinion Survey that in our county and our legislative districts, a majority of the people think that this is a good idea and are in favor of regulating carbon. In this, perhaps, our national government is lagging public opinion. I would be happy to work with anyone on a letter or resolution. And I think that hearing from elected officials such as you would have a lot of weight. We've been told in the past that hearing from local elected officials carries more weight than just us ordinary citizens. So I would love to see that happen. I have examples that I could provide of generic letters from leaders or a generic resolution. And as I said, I can provide whatever you would like to read further on the subject. And thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else have comments on another item they'd like to make? Also, if you signed up to speak, that's appreciated for the clerk, so she gets your name spelled right. So if you didn't sign up and you wish to speak tonight, she would appreciate it if you get a sign-up sheet and turn it into her so that later when she's doing the minutes, she gets your name right. Okay? We'll move on to official and staff comments for this evening. One thing, an announcement again, we are short a part-time van driver for the Acorn Van Service. It's hampering our ability to serve the citizens that count on this to get to their hospital appointments and their shopping and such. So if you know somebody who's in a position to do some part-time van driving, send them to City Hall or send them online to get an application. That would be greatly appreciated by the people that use the service. Clerk? Treasurer?
Just want to remind everybody that tomorrow starts school at St. Irene's, and Wednesday, District 200, so be aware that the kids are going to be out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman? Alderman Goodman?
I just wanted to remind everybody that there's 2 concerts on the Commons left. This Wednesday, there's going to be a band called Duplexes, and next week, the final concert of the summer, Rosie and the Rivets. The concerts on the Commons are right here next to City Hall, between City Hall and the library, 7 o'clock on Wednesdays every week in the summer, and it's always a good time, so please come out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, City Administrator?
Excuse me. I don't have anything to add there, just to make sure everybody sees there is a memo from our senior planner regarding item F, A, wrong agenda, 6A tonight, just information about the solar power plans of Everton. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And City Attorney?
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Barb. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda for this evening. Alderman Widener?
Yes, with the removal of item A, I move to approve the agenda for the August 20th, 2018 City Council regular meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion of the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda as amended is approved. We have also the approval of a couple of sets of minutes necessary this evening. Alderman Widener?
Motion to approve the minutes of the August 6th, 2018 City Council regular meeting and to approve the minutes of the August 13th, 2018 Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting.
Second.
Second by Alderman Davalos. Any discussion of those minutes? Alderman Ashour?
I just have a comment about the minutes of the August 6th regular council meeting on page 10 of 12. It says Alderman Ashour stated that members of the Staff and Plan Commission have done everything to push this development through and not once listened to the comments of the residents. And I had also stated that we were given talking points in support of the development with none of the legitimate current concerns of the citizens being included in that. And the next part of that, Mayor Brummel said personal attacks are not right, and Alderman Ashour's statement is not acceptable. I guess I'm just lost on the personal attack part of that. I didn't mention a person's name. I disagreed with the way that they handled the moving forward of this development, but I was accused of making a personal attack, so please, I'd like to know who I attacked, and I'd like their name in the minutes, so I can apologize to them.
If I remember correctly, it was staff, Ron Mentzer.
I didn't mention a name. There's not a name in the minutes.
Do we have a name? That's what I recall, so what would you like us to do?
Well, either apologize for telling me I attacked people, or tell me who I attacked and find it on the tape.
Well, again, my recall is it was Ron Mentzer.
Well, I can tell you that I didn't mention anybody's name.
Okay. All right, anyone else? All in favor then of the motion to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We'll move on to the consent agenda for this evening as amended. Item 6B, accept Public Works and Infrastructure Committee recommendation, waive second reading and pass ordinance 02018-37, authorizing disposal of city-owned surplus property utilizing open-off auction services. C, accept Public Works and Infrastructure Committee recommendation, waive second reading and pass ordinance 02018-38, approving an easement agreement for Adam Albright Street storm sewer. D, accept Public Works and Infrastructure Committee recommendation and pass resolution R2018-40, approving the proposal with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for engineering design of the Fox Hollow Lift Station Rehabilitation Project in an amount of $39,828. Excuse me. E, accept Public Works and Infrastructure Committee recommendation and pass resolution R2018-41, approving the adoption of the 2018 DuPage County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan and appoint Deputy Works Director Kukler to the work group. F, accept staff recommendation, pass resolution R2018-42, rescinding resolution R2018-39, waive the competitive bidding requirements, and approve an agreement with Herbo Tree Service Incorporated for tree removal in an amount of $25,500. G, accept Public Works and Infrastructure Committee recommendation and approve additional tap-on surcharge fees to be charged to the developers of Cantera Subareas C and G in amounts that would cover the costs associated with the city's purchase of the additional Naperville sanitary sewer capacity required to serve new development in Subareas C and G. H, accept Public Safety and Finance Committee recommendation and approve the social media policy as amended. I, receive and file minutes of the Police Pension Board regular meeting held on April 24th, 2018. J, receive and file report of invoices paid up to August 15th, 2018 in the amount of $25,000.10. K, authorize expenditures for invoices due on and before September 4th, 2018 in the amount of $182,484.47. And L, receive and file report of debit card expenditures for the month of July 2018 in the amount of $5,831.95. Alderman Widener.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented by Mayor David Brummel.
Second.
Motion and a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Hoffman.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Bevere.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos. Aye. Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
And the consent agenda is approved as amended. We'll go back to item 6A. Would someone like to make that motion, please? Alderman Goodman.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the Plan Commission recommendation, waive second reading, and pass ordinance O 2018-36, conditionally approving a preliminary planned unit development plan, a preliminary plat of subdivision, rezoning, and variations from the Warrenville zoning ordinance, stormwater regulation, and the subdivision control ordinance for Everton mixed-use development east of Illinois Route 59 and south of Ivan Albright Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. At this time, then before we have any discussion by the council, I would invite citizens who have something to say to come to the podium and share their thoughts with all of us. A couple of things. One, when you come up, please give your name and your address. Two, I would remind you that we're all neighbors and friends in here, and I would ask you to be respectful to whoever speaks by listening quietly to what they have to say. And I would prefer that you didn't clap every time you heard something that you really enjoyed and you thought was what you wanted to hear. We understand that a lot of you have a similar perspective that will just elongate the meeting, and we want to hear everyone who has something to say. So please listen respectfully as you would like to be listened to. I will call names, fairly long list. Normally I would have you line up, but I won't make you do that tonight. So we'll just go through the list as I have it in front of me. So when I call your name again, if you'd like to come to the podium, introduce yourself and say your piece. First, Wayne Booth. Pass. Okay. George Winsome.
Thank you, City Council, for giving us this chance to talk again. I've spoken a few times. My feelings are still the same. I don't believe that the City Council or the City Planning Commission has been listening to what the constituents have been telling them. And it's not that we're opposed to development. Every town needs development. It's not that we're opposed to apartments. Every town needs apartments. What we are opposed to is that, a couple things, you're not listening to us at all. You're really not. You're passing, you did a great job on the report. You made a lot of changes so that the developer can do this, this, and this, all these little things, some big things, but you're really not listening to us. We don't need this many apartments and this much multifamily housing in Warrenville. Warrenville is not Naperville. Warrenville is not Lombard. Warrenville is not Aurora. Warrenville is a diamond in the rough. And towns like Glen Ellen and Downers Grove and Park Ridge and several others have been those diamonds in the rough. A lot more could have been done to make this development special to a special city like Warrenville. I believe the council and the planning commission in their minds have thought that they have done the right thing for this town and this character of this town that has been developed over all these years. And I know all you folks have lived here longer than I have. But this is a mistake. And it's going to change the character in a way that I don't think you foresee. It's going to bring noise, traffic, let alone all the stormwater problems. I see in the minutes that there's something's going to be done for Adam Albright. That's great. I hope it all goes through. But you could have also done something for Adam Albright by getting the developer to move some of that stormwater in this, sorry, I'll speak up, in this corner right here, because it goes through that culvert and down.
You can take the mic with you.
Sure. Where this stormwater comes right at, here's Adam Albright, I believe. The stormwater goes to the north, goes through a giant culvert, and floods all these people right here, probably once a year, like Mr. Siebert said before, not Mr. Siebert, Mr. Rowell said before. 100-year flood, he's lived through 3 of them already. These are our neighbors. We live up in this area up here off of Amber Lane. So I'm George Winsome, 29463 Amber Lane. We could have got the developer to help move that water so the stormwater wasn't going through and flooding these people out every year. Terrible flooding. I hope this project that you're planning is really going to work for them. My point is real simple. This town has wonderful, wonderful character. It's got great people. It's got great homes. It just doesn't need this much multifamily development, and it definitely doesn't need this multifamily development jammed into this area right here. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Maybe you could just hand that to the next speaker. It works much better if you hold the microphone. That's so people at home can hear you. Mike Bear.
Mike Bear, 29 West, 420 Town Line Road, Warrenville. Did a lot of research, did a lot of footwork this week, starting on Friday. Went through a lot of documents, a lot of stuff online, printed out a lot of stuff, and just to know what's kind of going on through all this. This seems to be the kind of the holy grail. The survey from 2013 that you guys put out to the Warrenville residents, 128-page document. You can probably figure out 128 pages why only 325 people filled it out and sent it back. I think there's going to need to be an easier, better way to take surveys for Warrenville residents. Whether we can do that something online or just a better way to get a better turnout than the 325 people. But so I want to take some actual numbers from this. What you guys stated through this as far as what the residents of Warrenville wanted, not the board, not the council, not the aldermen, what the residents wanted. It was sent out to 1,378 residents out of a population, back then I researched it in 2013, of 13,336 residents. That's only 10%, so you're asking people their input and then you only ask 10% of them. I think that's way too low. Why not half? Why not all? Why can't we get all residents' opinion on this? Out of that 10%, only 325 completed the survey. That's only 23.5% completion rate, and that's 2.4% of our population then. So this whole thing that started all this is this survey. What does Warrenville residents want? And now you're basing all this building stuff off of that 2.4%. Does any of you feel like that's fair to us as residents to put all this building stuff on a 2.4% rate? There was 130 males that participated and 188 females that participated. There's on page 81, talks about how informed are you of the public review and council approval process for new development proposals. Only 4.6% said they were informed. Now, some of that's on our fault as residents. We should be more informed ourselves, but also I think it should be partly on the council and the aldermen and the mayor to have a better idea for the people to know and understand how this process works. I know for me, I just got involved in all this about probably 8 weeks ago, and it's just sad that there's only 4% out of that amount of people that know what's going on. So one of the questions on page 86, I don't know if anybody has this in front of them. It's 100, like I said, it's 128 pages. I read all 128 pages of it. It says, what are the top housing needs in Warrenville? Affordable, entry-level, single-family homes. 20% of people said that was a high priority, okay? So even though 20% may seem low, I want you to remember that number, because in a little bit I'm going to read a different number that's much, much lower than that. It says, what are the top housing needs in Warrenville? Duplexes and townhomes. 5%. This is 5% of 325 people, remind you. Not all of Warrenville, 5% of the 325. That's 18 people, okay, are wanting townhomes. 18 people. Next question, still on page 87. What are the top housing needs in Warrenville? Affordable, below $1,300 a month rental apartments or loft. 7.7%. 25 people. This is all stuff on your guys' website. Now, here's the $73 million question for the project. What are the top housing needs in Warrenville? Luxury, $1,300 a month plus, which they've claimed is that amount. More than that, for apartments or lofts. You guys want to guess what that number was? 4% out of 325. You know how many people that is? 13 people. Is there more than 13 people here? We don't want these apartments. Next question, still on page 88. What are the top housing needs in Warrenville, independent or senior living? 18%. 4 times as many residents wanted, out of that 325, wanted senior housing versus luxury apartments. And yet here we are with 1,009 apartments, including the Cantera apartments, 750 apartments plus these 259. That's 1,009 apartments. And yet the community said in a survey they wanted 4 times as many people wanted senior housing. Yet here we are with apartments. Page 89. What type of non-residential development should be priorities for the city? Additional sit-down restaurants. 23% wanted sit-down restaurants. Yet here we are with 1,009 apartments. Page 91. What type of non-residential development, let me repeat that, non-residential development should be priorities for the city? New commercial development for the new commercial development in the Route 59 corridor. So exactly the spot where we're talking about is listed in here. 14.5% said they wanted that. Commercial, not residential. Does that make sense, everybody? This is your numbers you're talking about here, and yet we're looking at 259 apartments. So far, we just have 4 acres. The builder has said they've set aside 4 acres for the commercial side of things, which I'm thankful for. I think that should all be commercial, all the way down 59. But they say they don't even know what's going in there yet. They have no idea what's going in there. So why are we approving this when they're not even telling us what they're going to put in there? The residents want senior housing. Is that going in the 4 acres? No. The residents want restaurants. Is that going in there? No. Probably not in the 4 acres. They don't even know. So why are we pushing this forward when they can't even tell us what's going to be in there? Mind you, that was 14%. Page 96. If Warrenville had more building supply, home goods businesses, would you patronize them? 53% said they would. For me, I'm a builder. I'm a general contractor. I do remodeling. Why can't we do like a Home Depot, Lowe's, or Menards there? As a contractor, drive a minimum of 15 minutes either all the way up to West Chicago, Menards, either all the way out to Carroll Stream, Home Depot, or down to Naperville, Home Depot, or Menards. I think it's a gold mine for 59 Butterfield Road, Route 88. A lot of contractors I work with come from Yorkville area. Come up here, they get on 59, they go north to Wheaton, Glen Ellen, all the surrounding cities. Warrenville may not be able to support a whole Home Depot, but I think having that many cars there, it was told to me earlier today that big supply stores like that need at least minimum of 20,000 cars per day to support a business like that. The road studies or traffic study showed they got 29,000 going through there. So isn't that plenty enough to support something like that? Why can't we go after something like that? I know for me, if I need something quick and short, I got to go up to Ace Hardware and pay $9 for a $3 part because they're close. Anybody else struggle with that here? Page 99. If Warrenville had restaurant businesses, would you patronize them? 69% said they would. Businesses, okay? As far as I know, these don't have any businesses yet. They haven't told us what's going in there. Right now, it's just apartments. And here we are at 100,009 apartments. Page 112. Rate the following as being advantage or disadvantage to the Warrenville small town character, which we've all talked about. The advantage is 92.3%. Small hometown feel. Does that ring a bell with the 3-story apartment complex, multi-unit dwellings? High rise? No. You guys are changing our small town, and we're not happy with it. The thing I'd like to read is your strategic economic development plan and supporting documents. That was also an extremely long thing to read through. I got through about 3/4 of it before my brain fried. But I printed out about 4 pages of it. Page 35, this is economic development topic number 1. Based on feedback collected from Neighborhood Dialogues in 2013 survey, the one I just talked about, is the number 1 topic of interest. From the residents' perspective, this area needs to be the city's top priority. Its desired focus on the development along the Route 59 corridor and increased restaurants and shopping venues for residents. I don't see anything in there about housing developments. Restaurants and shopping venues, okay? That's what it says. Based on neighborhood dialogues, development along Route 59, creating gathering places, were listed as the top overall priorities. Let's be clear, the gathering places does not mean apartments, in case you guys are wondering. Still on page 35 of this document, 69% of people identified they wanted new restaurants. I understand Warrenville, small population. We can't afford to have 600 restaurants here. But Route 59 is a busy street. Why can't we put them there? People from northern Naperville will come up this way to come to restaurants if we put them there. Same thing for West Chicago. 53.2% identified building supplies, home, or goods stores. Again, I mentioned that earlier. Again, no apartments are mentioned here. This is what the residents asked for when you guys sent out the survey. Now, here we are again at 1,009 apartments. Page 36, advantages to living in Warrenville. 98% said natural setting. 98%. Trying to figure out how a 3-story apartment complex as a natural setting, especially on 32 acres of beautiful property. Page 15. In Warrenville's case, the city has established the following overall economic development goal: enhance the city's tax base, support the growth of business, increase local shopping and dining opportunities, diversify the city's labor market, and create attractive gathering places. Also on page 15, it says, it's sensitive to the community's unique character. We're all here tonight because you guys are getting ready to pass this through, from what it sounds like. We're here to beg you to say no. Let's send this back to the builder. He can change it from apartments to townhomes. Let's compromise. You get what you want. You get a big development put in there. We get what we want with no apartments. We already have 750 apartments going in Cantera. How do we know we're going to fill those? Well, if we don't fill those, then we got a big mess on our hands. If we fill those, let's just take a pause and wait 2 years. If we fill those 750 apartments, then let's go back and talk about these. Maybe we do need them. But to say, when all these people want businesses and developments, not apartments, complexes, that's what the people want. You guys are forgetting that we all elected you guys. You need to do the will of the people, not the will of the builder, the will of the people. Page 6.
Mike, just a reminder, there are a lot of people that want to speak tonight, so.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I'm almost done. I'm just going over the stuff documents. I spent a lot of time this week, about 40 hours.
Just a reminder that other
Okay,
people
thank
want
you.
to speak.
Got about 3 more pages. Economic development statement. This is goal 1, page 6. Proactively plan and prepare for a well-designed mixed-use development along continuous to Route 59 corridor. You guys may think it's well-designed, and that's fine. It's your opinion on that. We all don't think it's well-designed. That's why we're all here on a Monday night to talk about this and oppose it. We don't think it's well-designed. It may be for the builder, but the builder's going to build it, and then he's going to leave. So I'd like to address just the mayor and the alderman. You guys forget that this is a democracy. We voted you in, we can vote you out. I'm declaring right now, if you pass this vote tonight for the apartments, I will actively campaign against you to lose your seat. I don't care who you are, I don't care where you live. I'm gonna actively go door to door, just like I did the last 3 days. I went and delivered 200 papers. I went and delivered 200 papers door to door. Now that gave me some respect for politicians and what they do on door to door thing, for sure. Because I spent almost 14 hours just doing door to door stuff, explaining to the people of what is about to happen to our small town, and we don't like it. We will not sit back and let you ruin the community, let you screw it up. So I'm asking you guys for tonight, if this vote, is it worth losing your seat over? Because I'm not joking when I say this. I'm from Kentucky, and we don't bluff, okay? We had it with you guys, and you guys bullying us with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Andrea Thien.
Thank you. I forgot to bring mine. Thank you. Thank you very much for letting us have a chance to air our opinions. And thank you very much to Mike for all his hard work to get this to our attention. My concern is not only for this number of population that will increase. You might say 559 apartments, but there might be at least 2 people in those apartments, so that doubles. The townhomes also. I worry about the impact on the schools, on our police force, on our fire department, our crime rate. When you got a dense population like that, very diverse people coming in from all different communities. Those aren't Warrenville people that are going to move in those apartments. We're going to draw all different people here. And really, how are we drawing them? Where are they going to work? Are these people going to work? We need more commerce in this town, like Mike talked about, commercial businesses to help us with our tax base, everything else. I too hope you really think of what you are creating here. Why do we want these numbers? We want to stay a nice little sleepy town. As a little postscript, I'd also like to say I'm not even thrilled with the fact that you changed the logo of this town. It looks like Waste Management. We have the acorn and a little oak leaf. And as I understand it, it was a child who originally designed that through a contest. But, I mean, these things just get pushed, and somewhere it's got to stop and go back to the people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. Jennifer O'Malley.
Jennifer O'Malley, 29 West 441 Albright Street. I've been here a couple of times. Let's see. First, I wanted to let you know, I'm an accountant. I worked for Illinois Housing Development Authority for 10 years. So I know what a TIF is. I know how that works. And to say that our taxes will not be raised by these people coming in and using the infrastructure that's there. Who's going to pay for the infrastructure? Who's going to pay for the sewers, the water? As far as I know, the town is on a well. Will the well support all these individuals? I know millennials, they like to take showers, and they're going to be using a lot of water. So as your infrastructure ages, who's going to pay for that? We are. The taxpayers are going to pay for that. Our taxes are going to go up. I would like my taxes frozen for 20 years. It seems to me that residents, developers, getting a break by having their taxes frozen, why is that unjust? I mean, that seems unjust to me and every citizen in the town. If you use it for what its purpose is, to generate more business, you have the sales tax, you have the real estate taxes, you have more people coming into town using other resources in the town, other restaurants and whatnot, all of that. They don't use as much water and sewer because they're not taking showers. They're not using the library. I think that point was made before, they're not using the park district. You know, I don't understand it. And keep talking about it and keep talking about it, and I just wish you would take your personal feelings out of it and listen to the citizens. Because when I heard all the people that were for or against it saying, I don't feel this and I don't feel that, well, you weren't listening to the people that were here talking. You're not supposed to be basing this on your own opinions. You're supposed to be basing it on what the people want. And a couple more points. This development, I went on their website. I saw what they put in Glenview. It had brick and it was beautiful. This is garbage what they presented to us. I didn't see any brick on there. In your capital investment plan, it says that the grand plan, whatever you guys used to develop this, it said stone be used in keeping with the quaint town. None of that is here. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Connie Long.
Hi, I'm Connie Long. I live on Albright Street, 29W660 Albright. I wanted to talk basically on three perspectives here. I'll be brief, but three. One is about the development itself. One is about the effect on the community. And then third is most immediately the effect on my neighborhood and the street where I live. Previous to my time here in Warrenville, I lived in the city of Chicago and I worked on the redevelopment of the housing projects and putting in mixed income development there. And I'll let you know the best practices we followed there are not what's being followed here. First of all, if you want to bring in commercial, you need to know what you want to bring in and what footprint they need. The hardest thing in the world to do is to have a piece of land and try to force fit commercial into what's left. You need to go to who you want to attract, see what kind of footprint they have. They have very standard development plans that they use. They know what makes their business work well. And when you put in a mixed income, a mixed use development, you have those retailers in the plan. You don't go and get them afterwards because their needs are very important. And it is very hard to get them to change their footprint, their layout, because you've already designed something else. So the best practice would be to have them as a part of this team, know who you're attracting and where they're gonna go. Secondly, if you just look at what has been developed, what we have, it defies common sense in how you typically see multifamily developments done. Typically, you'll have the apartments and the high-density housing closest to the road, closest to the traffic, closest to commercial. One, because they have more residents, so they drive more traffic. So you don't want that in the back of your development because all those folks are gonna have to drive past everybody else. You want them to get where they're going as quickly as possible and preserve the rest of the land. Secondly, they provide a nice barrier of sound, traffic, noise, and between commercial and residents. Typically, townhomes have more families. I know our prediction is that there's not gonna be a lot, but there'll typically be more there than in the apartments. They're more likely to use their land outside to ride their bikes in the parking lots. Just if you look at townhomes, that's how they're used. And so it would be better to have the commercial, if you're gonna do this, have the apartments close to the commercial and have the townhomes behind. And that gives the residents around there no longer have a 3-story apartment building staring into their backyard. They have something that's more similar to where they live. It's a transition in levels of density in residence and housing, and it just flows better as a community. And personally, from my view on Albright Street, it would have, 3, 4, 5, whatever, low cost introductory house and standalone houses to go from our neighborhood to townhomes to apartments. Because our street is homes on 1 and 2 acres. So yes, it's easy to ignore us because there's not a lot of us, because we have the traditional Warrenville style homes on large acres, so there's not a lot. But you're affecting all of us, and we bought this street, this land on the street because this is where we wanna live. And I will say through this process, we have felt a little bit kicked aside. We were told in a meeting here, just for the folks on our street, where we were complaining and said we wanted, at least a few single-family homes, some buffer, and we were told, who would ever build a home on your street? Told to all of us who we just built 15 years ago. Our next door neighbor was there who just built and redid his house, and other people who just bought on our street 3 years ago. So obviously, there are people there, and we just feel like people have taken the survey that was discussed, taken a few inklings, gotten a consultant, built a grand plan, and now said this is the will of the people. But this is not what the people have said. This is what the committee took the input and made a plan and then voted on it. I mean, at minimum, if we're going to use this as Bible, have the people vote on it to make sure this really represents what was said in the survey. And then in terms of our community, if any of you drive down Route 59 now, between 3 and 5 o'clock at night, you're already backed up all the way past Duke Parkway to the light at Butterfield. So you put 1,000 people in there, you're never going to get past. What's going to happen? I know, so then the answer was, well, we'll put emergency access for emergency vehicles on Albright Street. So at that same meeting here at the city, we said, well, that's really just a matter of time. In 5 years, you're going to turn that emergency access into a street, right? And all these 1,000 people are going to be driving down Albright, where we have no sidewalks, right, and no lights. And so, oh no, that will never happen. Okay, 4 weeks later, that's the plan. Is now a full-blown street, and everybody's driving down our street with little kids with no sidewalks. That's the answer to solve the plan of the city, is just use our street. So it just feels a little bit disingenuous, feels like we're being disregarded, and this plan has taken on a life of its own, and the views and the needs of the people are not even being considered legitimately. And I would just hope that when you look at this, in our conversations with the Planning and Zoning Committee and with comments from the builders, it seemed that the city has pushed for apartments. The city has pushed these developments to go all the way to Albright Street. It almost would have been better to leave it with what they came with, which was townhomes in that one little larger area, and leave Albright alone and leave apartments out of people's backyards. So just saying, I think the city has taken this a little bit too far and kind of left the city behind, the residents of the city behind. And then finally, if you look at the vote from the last meeting, it's split 4-4, right? If you look at who lives near these developments, they're against it. So I don't understand why the city then, in breaking a tie, would not lean towards the people who are going to be most affected by this, who have clearly spoken, their representative government has spoken, this is not what they want where they live. It's easy to vote for it when you live at the other end of town and it's not going to affect you. But it's much different when it's your backyard.
Thank you, Connie. Bob Siebert?
Bob Siebert, Albright Court. First, I'll just put up 5 hats, and we'll see why, in a couple minutes, why we have 5 hats. But the first subject I want to talk to is Warrenville Road. September 10th, Bellegarde's registered professional engineer has agreed to come to the meeting to speak and present suggestions to correct Warrenville Road. Also, I would hope that Unilock would come to the meeting to participate and present suggestions. I would hope that 2 or 3 solutions could be tested to ensure that we don't waste the $5 million. And that's on September 10th. Now, on the development here, I brought 5 caps here because everybody in here in this room wears these 5 caps. Everybody in the city because you pay taxes to the city, the park district, the library, the fire district, and the school district. But what this economic development study, impact study, did not show is the impact on the taxpayers, the current taxpayers that not only live on Albright, live on the east side, live on Galusha, live in Emerald Green. Everybody will be affected by this because it's a TIF. If the commercial, the residential, and the apartments are built as the plan designates, over the next 20 years, to these 5 hats, there will be a minimum loss of $3.2 million. That's the taxpayers in the room, Emerald Green, Galusha, everywhere will pay that. That's if the commercial and everything is built. However, the developers, we have a townhouse builder, we have an apartment builder. They're different, they're national, they're only looking for dollars. No one's come in here and said anything whatsoever about commercial. The residential developments are negative. They create no dollars for the city. That's what the plan shows. If the commercial is not built originally or ever, there will be a minimum over the next 20 years, $10.6 million of loss that the taxpayers will have to make up. So maybe we're somewhere between 3.2 million and 10.6 million in a loss to the citizens that are here now. In 1977, the TIF statute was passed to benefit the taxpayers, to build economic development that would lower your taxes and it would improve the quality. I don't consider this economic development when we have a minimum of 3.2 million loss or 10.6 million maximum just if they don't build these things. That is not planning or development. As a trained economist, I would say without a doubt, this development clearly shows that residential development does not belong in any TIF district. The people will only lose.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else who didn't turn in a sheet who would like to speak?
I'm Lisa Bear. I live at 29 West, 420 Town Line Road. And I'm just going to end, I'm going to be really quick with it, but I just wanted to end by saying that, you know, you've heard all of this, and there's a difference between listening and actually hearing what we're saying. And I feel like a lot of you are listening to it, but are you actually taking it in and evaluating it next to your own opinions on things? And so I do believe you're listening to us. Sometimes I don't feel like we're being heard. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that just because this is what MI Homes has come to us with doesn't mean that we can't push back and try and get something that's going to be beneficial for both. A lot of the people here have said when my husband canvassed earlier, that it's not that we're against development, it's not that we're against having townhomes there. We would just like to see ownership. So if you can come to a compromise where we're both happy and there is a development going in there, but that there's more home ownership and not as many apartments because of the high level of apartments that we have going into Cantera already, it just feels like overload to us. It feels like too much at once, too many apartments at once, and we would like to see more townhomes go in. So we're just asking that you not scrap the whole project. We're asking that you come to a compromise and maybe lessen the number of apartments or get rid of them altogether and just do townhomes. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Rawls, 29W 465 Albright. I have 2 points to make. Number one, Bob Siebert's right. The city's going to lose money, and taxpayers are going to have to make it up. Bob is trained an economist. He has a master's degree in economics. You should listen to him, not listen to the sales pitch by M.I. Homes. My second point, if I was going to buy a home, I would not buy one from M.I. Homes. They have a 1.5-star rating. Would you buy a house from a builder who only had a 1.5-star rating when 5 stars are available? Look at the builders like Joe Keim and them. They have reputations for quality. M.I. Homes, 1.5 stars? You got to be kidding me. I wouldn't take my family to a restaurant that had a 1 star. And here you're willing to sell the Warrenville down the river because of some poor interpretation of that economic survey, which Mr. Bear pointed out very strongly is misinterpreted. And just because people want development, they want good development, not this kind of junk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kathy Jarka. I live at 3 South 510 Landon. My husband and I moved here a couple years ago. We renovated a house, and we moved here because we liked the small town feel. It wasn't a congested city. The website boasts how it's a small town feel. That's how you're marketing the city. I just feel like the apartments are going to make it too congested. I feel like there's no compromising being made. I feel like people on the board already have their minds made up and they're not listening to us. I've even noticed tonight that some people sitting up there haven't even been paying attention to the people talking. I don't know what else I can say that hundreds of other people haven't said. I don't support it. I'd like to see a compromise, but I feel like people have already made up their minds. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't even think I was going to say anything, but I've lived in Warrenville for 20 years now.
Could you have your name, please, and your address?
Jill Strandberg. We live at 28W 670 Wagner. We used to live over on Timber Drive. We moved to Warrenville because we thought this town would never grow. We thought it was amazing with all the trees and the parks, and that's why we moved here. That's why we made our home here. And now I'm getting really worried what is going on. So I've never even been to one of these performances, but I don't really feel like anyone's listening anyway, so I had to say something. So anyway, that's what I had to say.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tim Gornick, 29 West, 450 Albright Court. I just want to address the target market the developer had stated would be interested in these properties and classified the millennial target market. I can say by some people's definition, I fall under the millennial group. They're not going to pay $300,000+ for a cramped together condo or the high rent prices that you guys are forecasting, they're gonna go to the city of Chicago for that. I own property in the city of Chicago, a condo with city amenities, the L right next to it, not a 20-minute drive to a train station to ride a train downtown for an hour or anywhere of the sort. So I think your target market is flawed. Maybe people will buy your overpriced, underbuilt establishment, but I don't think it belongs in this town.
Thank you.
It's like the last girl.
Okay, could you take the mic out, please?
Am I too short? Sue McFadden, 29 West 120 Batavia Road, 33-year residence here. I also wasn't planning on speaking, but I do want to say now that it seems like there's heightened awareness of the people, maybe a new poll should be taken, and how is it that our voice can be heard, and what is the process in doing that? Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
My name is Nada Davis Amholt. I live at 3 South 540 Landon Drive. I also wasn't planning on speaking. What Warrenville needs is jobs. We need to fill the vacant businesses that are in the Quintera development. That's the only way that we're going to bring in people to Warrenville. Because of the job that I do, I've gotten to speak to a large apartment complex in Warrenville, which is Village Green. They are newly bought from the previous owner, and they've put in a lot of work there. They're really bringing it up to date. They're horrified that the number of apartments are going in close by, not only because of the competition, but because this area is considered to them that manage many other apartments in the area an apartment glutted area. That doesn't mean Warrenville precisely, but it means Warrenville, Naperville, and the surrounding areas have enough apartments. The other thing, I just want to say what the young man said. These apartments are not going to be walkable apartments. They're not going to be able to walk to amenities. And there is no transport to the train, that's to my knowledge. The apartments in Naperville that are doing well and fill up are the ones that have a transport system to the train. They're either walkable or there is a bus that the apartment complex runs to get the people to the train. There aren't the jobs in the suburbs to hold this population of apartments. These people do travel into the city, but they're not going to do that from the apartments on Route 59.
All right, last call.
Jack Tolchek, 29 W610 Albright Street, just a few hundred yards away from the project plan. I just want to say, first of all, for those who voted against it, thank you. We need more solid, good people who understand the needs of the residents of this town. You guys heard everybody here tonight. There's hundreds and thousands more that just are not informed. Listen to them. Please do your job. And I mean, honestly, this is absolutely ridiculous what we are going through, what you're putting these people through, because this makes no sense whatsoever. There's very intelligent people who spoke earlier today, and the data makes sense. And our will, what we want as residents, longtime residents, of you, of this town, is not what is being pushed right now. Please listen to us. Thank you.
My name is Russ Anderson. I live at 29W655 Albright. 19 years ago, my 7-year-old daughter and I wanted to live somewhere where we could have horses and see animals and enjoy the environment, and me not have to worry about the townhouse environment that we were living in Naperville, which, by the way, I'm a lifelong resident of this area. So, anyway, we move here and have some great neighbors. Have had neighbors. Did I say I moved here 19 years ago? Okay. Most of my neighbors have been here, have been on Albright longer than I have. And Connie, she and her family have been there for 15 years. Most people that come there stay there until they retire, including the gentleman, Mr. Bruno, that passed away at the corner at 90 years old. And our former postmaster, who died at 90 years old, was my neighbor across the street, Gene. Anyway, so the first part was great. Schools have come up, and starting in 4th grade, my daughter had 30 students in her 4th grade class, and at the end of each quarter, I had to have a special meeting with the teachers telling me how my daughter was failing and not performing to expectations. So after hearing it in 5th grade, I transferred her to a private boarding school for the next 4 years, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That costs about $150,000. She did so well there, she went to one of the top boarding schools in Connecticut, which was another $200,000 for 4 years, Suffield Academy. From there, she got accepted into New York University. So if you think your schools are working now, you gotta be kidding me. Whoever the gentleman was that met with us told us that 42 people in a classroom, students, was not uncommon and acceptable. That's ridiculous. So the other part is, now I missed one point, which is now I get to enjoy 366 feet of my west lot line inhabited by row after row of townhomes, 24 feet from my lot line, which was another variance. It sounds to me like I got to know New York a little bit, traveling there quite a bit to see my daughter. And they had a mayor named Bean in the 70s, about when TIF started. And his famous motto was, whatever the Trumps wanted, they got. And this kind of stinks of that. And, oh, not to mention my 200 feet of rear of southern lot line gets to view a 256-foot apartment building. Thank you. Now, we didn't move here for this. I thought we were moving in for good schools. That didn't happen either. But, oh yeah, we're just lowlifes on Albright anyway, I heard in the meeting. Our shit-ass homes. Well, I had to spend almost $1 million on my daughter's education. Hello? And I paid $400,000 for my house, which is probably not even worth that 20 years later. And what the hell are all your apartments going to do to the value of my house? Now, for me, it's not going to hurt me as much, but there are a lot of people that will be hurt by this. It disappoints me dramatically. I don't like to lose in real estate. Did you all hear what I said? Thank you very little.
I'm Erhard Beer. I'm at 29W 571 Albright Street. I'm living there already for the last 51 years. I've seen a lot of good things and bad things what was done in this town. But this year, as far as I'm concerned, takes the cake. It is like having a 5-pound bag and trying to squeeze 50 pounds of BS in it. Thank you.
Eric Sventekis, 29W168 Calumet Ave. My only, two comments. One is, I think you should take something like a Hippocratic oath where the first job should be not to do any harm. And it's clear we're seeing harm done to this town with this construction. And that's the main point. I was texting my wife saying, she said, you have to get up and let them know that you're not happy. The other aspect is every month we get a newsletter that talks about how rosy and how happy you are to hear from us and how civil this meeting is. And I think there needs to be some reality there that every single person here stands against you. And if you want to see democracy in motion, then as part of your newsletter next month, please include how we can recall you and everyone who votes for this. Thank you.
Mine will be quick. I'm Julie Lynn. I'm from 29W565 Butterfield Road. I would say that I am also a fellow millennial. The only reason I ended up here is because my husband, he works in Aurora. So I didn't really realize that your target demographic was millennials, but I do think that that is absurd and misguided. Millennials aren't going to want to live out here. It's difficult to get to places. It's not close to the city. I mean, I've fallen in love with this town being here, but I wouldn't have chosen to live here as a millennial initially. Also, I am expecting my first child. One of the reasons that my husband and I decided to stay here is because the high school is pretty well rated out here. So it is a concern that our classrooms become overcrowded, and I hope that's something that you are taking into consideration. And I guess that's all that I remember that I wanted to say, so thank you.
So I too wasn't going to speak, but kind of thought I needed to. My
Name?
name's Linda DaCosta. I live on 29W620 Albright Street. And I have a little different perspective. We moved here 4 years ago from Seattle, Washington. And I lived in a city called Maple Valley, which is now the #1 city to live in Washington, suburb of Seattle. It's also one of the top 100 places to live in the United States to raise a family. We moved there, bought 2 homes there, bought new construction there, lived there 8 years, relocated. My husband works for Costco. I watched the 2 neighboring cities growing at the exact same time. Maple Valley was very careful on how they planned, and they got a lot of criticism at the time. They didn't put in the apartments that came, all these offers kept coming and coming for all this beautiful land. But the city of Covington, neighboring us, they took every offer instead of waiting and pausing. And when our home was built, they actually put a building moratorium to make sure that the infrastructure would work in the city. And 15 years later, it's the best place to live, and it's full of community. Covington has drug issues, crime issues. They don't have the home ownership. Their schools are failing. Maple Valley is the #1 school district in all of Seattle, in fact, all of Washington. On a sidebar, to give you a sense of community, they're all big Seahawks fans. They got voted as the #1 city of the fans, and they had made, news over the nation. And it just gives you that sense of that community feel because, in my opinion, it's home ownership that brought that community together. And I will tell you, our property values, once the little hiccup in the economy that hit the nation, a $400,000 house that I sold when I moved here is now worth $900,000. My home that I bought here is worth less. And I live on an acre right by where you're building, and we chose to live there because we didn't want to live in Naperville. And I will tell you, those apartments you're thinking of building, they're not going to shop in Warrenville. They're going to go shop, and they're going to eat, and they're going to spend their money in Naperville. And the builder is marketing it that it's an extension of Naperville, so that they're going to cost all of us money, in my opinion, and I think, as you guys expressed with the TIF, but they're not going to bring the tax dollars and the revenue by spending money. They're going to take it somewhere else, or they're going to market commuting traffic that's going to spend their money somewhere on the train route, if that makes. So I wish you guys would pause a little bit, maybe not develop quite so quick. And I'll throw in one last thing, because I understand how retail develops, and even speaking for a big box store like Costco, they're not going to come into a city that has too many apartments and not, they're looking, the medium income of Costco members, I'm just throwing out that because that's what I know, they're looking for single family home ownership ratio to the apartments. That's really big, and I think Connie addressed it. You have to look at who you want to attract, and that is the city that I came from. They were very careful, and they didn't listen to sales pitches, and they actually thought, what do we want to build a community, and how can we draw those businesses in, those big box stores if we want to have them, and they're thriving. So I just hope you guys can consider that and maybe just pause. That's all we're asking, I think. I don't think it has to be approved. Yes, the builder wants it approved, but could we pause? Just maybe?
Hi, my name is Todd Biggett. I've been in town since 1987. I opened up a small business here in 94. It's Ashland Construction. And I enjoy this small town. It's a great location. Thinking about adding this many people at once into the community, how do you feel about your events, your days of summer, your 4th of July parties? What about cramming another 1,000 people into those locations? How do we build the city before we put that many people into the city? And the schools, as everyone has said. My daughter went to Bauer. They went to Wheaton, Warrenville. They did well. And for the rest of their lives, they'll remember that this was a small community. They remember their first grade teachers. They remember their sixth grade teachers. They remember their eighth grade teachers. And to throw that many people into the community that fast without thinking about what we're doing. The location I live is 3 South 450 Patterman Road. I'm on the corner of Butterfield and Patterman. I am on the southwest corner. As we get rain and the flooding, my whole property floods. And as been mentioned before, it's probably not a 100-year flood. That's more like a 10-year, 100-year flood, 7-year, 100-year flood. They try to put sewers in, but all the water and all the asphalt that you're going to put in there and all the black soil that's coming out, where's all that water going to go? All that drainage that's there now, where's all the water going to go? It's going to flow right back through and go on the other side of Albright. It's going to go on Albright, Patterman. Just think what you're doing. Revamp. I don't have all the statistics on the graphs and the 100-year floods, but just look at it before you throw all this asphalt, concrete, and people with automobiles. How many automobiles are going to be having traffic? Where's everyone even going to park over there? As looking at the plans, if you put 2 people per home and they have cars, where are they going to park? Anyways, I just wanted to voice I'm completely against this plan. I support all my community, all my neighbors on this, and I hope that you guys vote for the right direction and in our community. That's it.
I'll do the last call one last time. All right, I believe we have heard everyone who wishes to be heard this evening. Just a reminder, this is the end of a long process on this development, that there were many, many public meetings, all of which most of us had to attend. So it's not a snap decision on anybody's part up here, that everyone takes their responsibility to the community seriously. You may agree or disagree with how they vote and what they have to say, but I assure you that it's a well-considered opinion based on staff recommendations, based on all the best information that we can get in terms of trying to make a good decision that will benefit the community long-term. Again, you may disagree, but this is our job to make these decisions, and we will make the decision tonight in a few minutes. Council. Alderman Bevere.
Yeah, I'm going to be voting the same against this project. And I also, can I make a statement on the lady that talked earlier? I'd just like to have John check to make sure there's ordinance on the roads for no truck traffic, or if signs have been removed or need to be put up. So that's in our ward, and just like to have that checked into. Thank you very much.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on this, as I've voted no on all this large developments as far as apartment complexes and not because I'm against development. I'm against this particular developments for the one simple reason is they're going to cost the taxpayers more tax money because they don't carry their own water. Thank you.
Alderman Ashour.
I just want to, first of all, thank all of you for taking the time to come. Nobody gets up on Monday wanting to come here, not even us. The comments have all been well received. And you guys represent what I certainly have known in Ward 1. The strategic plan is pretty much what all of you think. The things that Mr. Baer brought up are very reflective of the cross-section of the community. It is my feeling that there is nothing about this development that looks like Warrenville. I've made it clear that I don't agree that there should be apartments. That is an absolute waste of a beautiful piece of property on rentals. It has some amenities that would be far better served with home ownership, people who actually want to be a part of all of us. And I don't support it. And I'll be voting against it tonight, and I would like to actually make a motion to take the waive the second reading out of this. If this passes tonight, I would like to see a second reading in 2 weeks on something that has this close a vote with the council. I think that it's important that it be heard as many times as it needs to. You guys should have the opportunity to comment as many times as are possible. So I would like to make a motion to remove the waive the second reading.
Attorney?
So that's a motion to amend the main motion, to delete the language about waiver of second reading?
That's correct.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion? Do you have a date in mind? Because several aldermen will be out of town soon.
Next council meeting.
Several aldermen will be out of town.
Then I guess you should make the date on the day that you think you're gonna have enough votes to pass it.
Or we could just have a full council. You indicated how important it was for everyone to be heard. I would think it would be important for everyone up here to be heard also.
Well, these guys, I thank you. These folks all came out pretty much on a last minute's notice. And I don't think that they should have to find out on Sunday night that we're gonna vote.
There is always at least 48 hours that we have to publish our agendas. And, okay, we have any other discussion of the amendment to the motion? Okay, could I have a roll call, please? This is on the amendment to remove the second, or to add a second reading at some future date.
Alderman
Yet to be determined.
Alderman Berry.
Nay.
Alderman Goodman.
Nay.
Alderman Widener.
Aye.
Alderman Hoffman.
Aye.
Alderman Bevere.
Aye.
Alderman Davalos.
Nay.
Alderman Ashour.
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Nay.
Mayor votes nay. We'll go on to the original motion. Discussion of the original motion. Alderman Goodman?
It's not easy to stand in front of a room of people who you don't agree with and speak up and say, I don't agree, but that's what I'm going to do. I don't agree. I always make every vote that I vote on in my capacity as an alderman with the same goal, to try and keep the best interests of Warrenville in mind. And I
beg your pardon, we listened respectfully to every one of you that wanted to speak. You should do the same to these folks. You're not helping your case by being rude. Please listen. Give her the respect. She's trying to give her perspective.
because I was taking notes and writing down, I have pages of what you said.
Okay, would you please let her finish?
I'm not going to respond to the disrespect. I'm going to tell you my perspective, which is that I think I should make every decision as an alderman with the best interests of Warrenville in mind. And my view on this issue is that we've put together plans, we've received a proposal that fits the plans that the city council proposed. You can make changes to the plan. Some changes have been made. Not as many changes as everyone here would like. That's very clear. However, the plan that's in front of us achieves some things which I think we need for the long-term interests of Warrenville. For one thing, in order to support the new commercial development
that we want in our community. We've been told by consultants, by experts, by people who've put together long-term economic plans for the city of Warrenville. We've been doing this in different forms since the 2011 sub-area planning, the 2013 community survey, the 2014 economic and strategic plan, the 2015 white paper from B&O and Associates. And the message that we've gotten time and time again is that in order to achieve the long-term results that we want for our community, we need to have more rooftops. We need to have more butts and seats, people who are residents shopping in these commercial properties that we want. It surprises me to hear people in this room say that they love our town and then applaud people who say that they don't want to shop in Warrenville and that they don't think residents would shop in Warrenville stores, or to express certainty that young people wouldn't want to move here. It surprises me to hear people who say that they love our town clap when someone expresses that view. So,
Okay, please, again, would you just listen?
so when I make this decision, I make this decision with the information that I have. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see people here participating in community decisions and putting in some time to do research. Mr. Bear, who I spoke to on Friday and who I sent that link to the results of our community survey on Friday after we spoke, he said he put in 40 hours over the weekend, and that's wonderful. I really applaud that kind of commitment. But there have been weeks in the 13 years that I've been a public official of this city when I've put in 40 hours in 1 week, time and again over those 13 years. And I do feel that I have a good grounding in the municipal issues that I'm voting on, whether it's reviewing a budget, whether it's coming in on a Saturday to go through the proposals from our staff for how to spend the city's taxpayer dollars in a responsible and efficient way, to whether it's providing for our public safety and overseeing the police department or the streets and public works. There's a lot more that goes into running a city and being a city official than just the planning and zoning part of it, although that part was the piece that I participated in the longest back during the years I was on the Planning Commission. So it's something I know a little bit about, and I like to think that my time working for the city of Warrenville is making a difference. If I didn't think I was making a difference, if I didn't think that my years of learning about municipal issues and studying plans and budgets was helping my whole city, not just my neighborhood, not just my ward, not just the piece of it that's in my backyard, the whole city, then I wouldn't be here. So I'm here, I'm working, I'm gonna be here next week, I'm gonna be here the week after that, whether all of these people come back or not, and I hope you do. I hope you volunteer. I hope you participate in our commissions. I hope you take this energy and do something productive with it. That's all I have to say.
Are you done? Okay. Alderman Berry?
Alderman Goodman is right. It's not easy to sit up here and listen to the comments that if I was to vote yes for this project, that I would be, basically, I was being threatened that I would be put out of office. And that's, hey, that's the way it goes. You know, I run for election. If somebody wants to come up and run against me, that's fine. And it's happened before, and that's fine. I promised in 2005, when I first ran, I was on the Planning Commission at the time, that I wanted Route 59 to be developed. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Hopefully, many of these projects will go through that we have on that map over there. And If that happens by 2020, that's when my term is up. And if someone else that's out there would like to run and sit up here and listen every single week and have your brain explode because you've read a lot of information week after week after week after week and come to meetings week after week. Now, this is not the only meeting that we come to. We're all on other commissions and committees, and we go to those meetings also. I will vote yes, just so you know, and I'm sure it's not any surprise, but I love the community I am in. I live in Emerald Green. It's a wonderful place, and I'm sure that the townhouses and the apartments, the people will get along famously. Thank you.
Okay, you had your chance to speak earlier, please. This is their chance to speak.
I guess I'm not done. When I moved to Emerald Green, there were less than 4,000 people. I've said this before many times. I don't know if you've heard me, because maybe you were listening, but you didn't hear me. I've lived here that many years, and when I moved into Emerald Green, it was one of the very, very first condos in this city, and there was nothing across the street from us, and now there's Warrenville Lakes. There was nothing to the east of us. There's 2 small subdivisions. There was no shopping center. There was nothing at the corner of 59. There was no gas station. There was not a grocery store. There was nothing. And I loved Warrenville. I came from a big city, and I still do love Warrenville, and I do the things I do because I love Warrenville. And it's difficult to hear when people tell me that they've lived here for 10 years and they love the small town community. Well, 10 years ago, I think the population was 10,000, 12,000 people. Okay, it was small town when I moved in. Maybe I didn't like it when all you people moved in after that. I bet that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing, that, you know, you've lived here for so long, but I've lived here that long too, and I love this community. And I'm trying to do the best that I know for this community. I've been in retail. I was in retail for 35 years, and I know what it's like to put in a business. My husband and I owned businesses. We had 9 retail stores at one time. We know where to go, and we knew that you had to have a certain amount of people before you could put in a business. And right now, there is no one that was willing to come on Route 59. That's why it was not developed, because we didn't have enough people in the community.
Alderman Widener?
Yes, I just first like to start out by saying that generally the community that I have faith in and that I like to operate in is tough on the issues and not so tough on each other. And regardless of how I'm going to vote, I just feel that there's a lot of people that are going a little bit beyond being tough on the issues and being tough on each other. And I, through all this process, have seen the work that the Plan Commission has put into this. I've seen the research that citizens like Mike Bauer have put into this. I've seen the research and work that the aldermen have looked into this, as well as the developer. They've all come together and put their best foot forward trying to look at and study this. And I really think that everyone in the room should consider the effort that was put forward by all the other individuals that have come forward to work on this project, including city staff. With that being said, I somehow feel that this project has missed out and not maintained the natural character and charm of Warrenville and is not following the best practices. At the same time, I still really appreciate what MI Homes has done. As recently as tonight, they were announcing their commitment to become the first multifamily development in the area to incorporate renewable energy in the form of solar. That's a huge step we've been trying to get. So people are listening, people are reacting to this process that we're going through. And it's a process that we all need to respect, including myself, moving forward. And I hope that we can all improve and understand that. It's unrealistic to think that we can raise a drawbridge and stop growth in Warrenville. And we probably won't change traffic on Route 59. When I moved here, it was 2 lanes, and it's growing and growing into 4 lanes. And whether we reduce the amount of development we do, there's going to be neighbors on north and south of us that are going to throw a lot of traffic out on 59. So I, for one, have designed alternate routes, which I will keep a secret and not tell anybody, because I find my way around better and better that way. But anyway, if it was up to me, I wish that we could have put a moratorium on the apartments that we've already approved, just to see what impact they'll have on the community. I'm feeling like 1,000 apartments, there's going to be some things that happen within our fine community that will be positive, and there'll be some things that'll probably be negative, and I just wish we could place a moratorium on this project so that we could understand what the 600 or so apartments that we've already approved have, the stressors and the improvements that they've placed on the community, so we could come to understand that. But there's no ability to postpone the vote because it was determined on Alderman Ashour's motion that it was defeated. So we will go ahead, I guess, and vote on this unless someone agrees to motion to postpone the vote on item A in order to establish more community dialogue and understand the impacts of the apartments and their complexities that we've placed on the community. But short of that, it's hard for me to be in favor of this. I just don't see it blending in with the remainder of our community and adding to the community and improving it. The other thing is, I think the city staff and the city does a good job of identifying best practices. And if we were to build something, we would be sure we had elevators on and access to all areas of whatever it was that we constructed. I know it's not required because of ADA situations, but certainly that would be a best practice that I would throw into this development. So those are my comments. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Alderman Davalos.
Thank you, Mayor. I too just want to thank everybody for coming. I've had discussions with many of you and have learned. I've gone back and reread things and researched, and I think you guys have brought up questions that anybody living in that area would definitely bring up. I think we all, when we started this over a year ago, 18 months probably, we all had questions on the stormwater, which will be better, by the way. DuPage County does not allow anything else. They are the most strident county in Illinois for stormwater. You have to leave a lot more floodplain left over after you have developed. It's almost a 1 to 2. So they have created a lot of compensatory floodplain on this property, which is why there's so many acres that are empty. So I think that's not really an issue. The one thing I want to kind of clear up is this property tax business. I ran into probably 4 or 5 of you over the last 6 months, or 4 or 5 people that I've run into that have been quite angry that the people living on this development will not be paying property taxes, that Warrenville will be paying their property taxes. And I kind of just want to put that to bed right now, because that will never happen. It has never happened. If you are living on a piece of property or in a house or in any kind of home, whether you're renting or buying, you are paying your own tax. And the people living in this property will be paying the property tax on that property. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about TIF right now, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot about it, but this property will generate, over the life of the TIF, probably between $1.5 million and $1.9 million a year into the TIF fund. And people are talking about the infrastructure. Well, that's how a lot of that gets built. That's what TIF is for. It's to help areas that have not developed over many years, and for infrastructure and floodplain and water and sewer and light and gas and building roads and all kinds of things. And that's why when you have a TIF, developers become quite interested in your area, because there is relief for those kinds of things if they choose to take it. Many developers don't choose to take it, but it's there. So a lot of good things will be happening on the Route 59 area because of this TIF. And the other thing is this $34,000 that everybody seems to get caught up in, that will occur after the TIF is over, when everybody, all the taxing bodies, gets their funds. And if we hired, and this is the way the data is calculated, they say, well, you may need 3.9 more employees in the city for this one development. And if that happens, then you'll be $34,000 short per year. Well, that's not likely to happen. I'm sure we will need, I'm thinking we will need more, maybe police officers. I'm talking about all of the 4 developments, the one townhouse development on the west side of 59 and the other developments that are apartments and townhomes. It's likely that Chief Tarana will come forward and he may need officers, that the Public Works Department may need people that are shoveling and examining and repairing and going. I don't know. They will come to us when they have figured out if they have needs. But I doubt if it's going to be 4 people per development. So I personally don't think that $34,000 is ever going to even be an issue. And even if it was, that is not a problem for us. We don't go to the taxpayers every time a development costs money. Well, you guys, we keep your tax rate the same, and you pay your property tax, and we take about 9 to 10% of it, and we have a wonderful general fund that is probably half of the income we get. The other half is through taxes, and we don't go to you separately and say, you're going to have to pay all this, we're going to raise your taxes. That's in the 12 years I've been involved, that's never happened. And so it's going to be fine. Nobody is going to pay more property tax because of this development. It just, and I'm not going to go into it now, but any questions you have, you can come to staff or anybody else. It's just not true that that will ever happen. The other thing I'm interested in, and I've asked several of you about, is this seeming of negative feeling, almost loathing of apartments. And I think in the last 8 years, maybe, the demographics of development has changed. The most successful real estate development that happens now is apartments, because things have changed. Kids do not graduate from college necessarily and have one job for the rest of their life. They have from 5 to 7 jobs. They want to be flexible and move around. We have heard from other people. We have heard from you guys, which is great. Like I said, I've enjoyed the input. I've learned a lot. We have heard from businesses in town that are very positive about these apartments. They're excited about these apartments. We heard from somebody from Fermilab that said, look, we're a postdoc. We're only here 3 or 4 years. We want to live in this town. We love it, but we don't want to buy. you know where empty nesters are going? What the developers have told us, the people that rent the 3-bedroom apartments are the empty nesters for their grandkids to come and this sort of thing. So these apartments are becoming senior housing sometimes. They're college kids. I'm not talking about Monarch Landing assisted living. I'm not talking about that. But a lot of people don't want to own anymore. It's just difficult. With a new tax law, you can't even take a lot of your property tax off. DuPage County is a very expensive place. You guys know that. You guys are homeowners out there. It's not, it's tough. And I think when you're raising money for real estate and raising capital for that, one of the most successful projects are apartments. And the people in these apartments are your kids, they're my kids, they're my friends' kids, they're people that are retiring, maybe a divorce. It's not low-income things that everybody's afraid of. There's income requirements for this MI Homes development. And so I think we have some misunderstanding about what's happening in multifamily living. These apartments, somebody mentioned the preserve of Cantera. I think their non-rental rate, the units they can't rent are like 2%. And the average around DuPage County is 3.2%. So they are very successful. They are not bringing in the riffraff. They are people that want to be part of the community. They cannot afford to buy homes. They don't want to buy, even if they can afford it. So I think that we need to be kind of thinking about that. So I just think there's some misunderstanding about what's going on and how our community is going to change. We all up here care about what I think somebody at the Plan Commission said, this necklace of green that surrounds us. I love the concept of our forest preserves, our green space, our hiking, our biking, all of that. Nobody wants that to change. You know, and I think with this development on 59, this is not going to change the character of our town. I will tell you that, and I share this with several people today, I, for one, think we need, with this development, if it passes, we need to step back, and as some of you have said, we need to take a look at how apartments are going to impact the city. What do we need? What's going to happen? Well, I don't think it is too late. I don't think this is going to impact the community in the way some of you think are going to happen. And so I know we would disagree on this. I understand that. But I just wanted to clear up a couple things, especially the property tax issue, because there's so much misinformation out there. So thank you.
Everyone has been heard that wished to be heard, so now it's time to make the decision. I also appreciate the fact that you were here exercising your rights and responsibility as a citizen. I respect that you differ from my opinion. I guess part of my job is to have a vision for the community, although some people probably disagree with that, but my job is not just to sit here and take a poll and see what people want and then do that. My job is to try to stand back and listen to everyone that I can listen to staff, listen to experts, listen to other elected officials, and then come to a good decision, at least one that I can live with in terms of the future of the community. That's what I'm doing on this particular project. Is it a perfect project? No. Does it fit in very, very well with the plan that has been? Again, I listen to you. Do you have to be rude, or can you be quiet and listen to me? Rudeness is going to get you nothing. So listen. Show that you have the capacity to be polite and respectful. This fits in very well with the plans that we've been making for years about the Southwest District. All of those were done in public, with public invitations for people to come and give their input, meeting after meeting after meeting. And as Mike pointed out very pointedly earlier, we have these meetings about the future of the community, and a handful of people will show up. Now, we go through an 18-month process for a project, and no one comes until the last vote to tell us they don't like the project. Now, there are a few of you that came to other meetings, but most of you have not been here. Now, I understand everyone's busy, But it's a little unrealistic to expect that we're going to invest that much time in vetting a project, making plans for the community, and Alderman Goodman listed a number of them. All of them take hours and hours and hours that we basically do because you don't show up. And then the last minute you show up to tell us how unhappy you are with something that we're doing after we've already been through the whole process. And then you accuse us of having our minds made up. Well, in part, we've got the information we need to make a good decision without your input earlier because you didn't show up. Now you're here to tell us that you're against it. That's fine. I understand that. Nobody likes change. My neighborhood that I live in changed dramatically from the 40 years ago when I bought it. I could certainly say, as many of you have said, that's not why I moved there. It's way, way different than it was. The only thing I can tell you is that it's still a nice place to live. It hasn't been destroyed because I have more neighbors than I ever had before, and I have million-dollar houses across the street. They're nice folks. It's going to be fine. This is going to be fine too because we have looked at all of the things, the questions that you've brought up have all been discussed. They've all been looked at carefully, and everyone who looked at them who's in favor of this says, yeah, this is going to be okay because we've checked all these things. The school district is not against this. That's come up again and again and again. They've made no objection to any of these things because they're losing population. They've been losing population for the last 10 years. The number of kids, the most reliable sources that we can use to determine the number of kids that are going to come from this development and the other two developments tell us between 100 and 110 kids. It's a 13,000 student school district. 100 and 110 kids over a period of several years is not going to hurt them. In fact, they're probably going to be happy to have them. We have looked at every single aspect that you have brought up, and we've looked at a way that it looks good to us by what we're told by the experts. That's what I have to base my decision on. I appreciate the fact that you're opposed to this. I appreciate that you don't want change to your neighborhood. Nobody wants that. But remember, nothing stays the same. The Warrenville that I grew up in the 60s is long, long gone. It was a wonderful place, but it's gone. We are not a rural community anymore. We're in the middle of the suburbs. We're a suburban community with a rural heart. We're never going to lose that. No one up here wants to lose that. We still want to have that small town flavor. We can engender that by inviting more people in. We want the community to be attractive to people who don't live here. This little development next door, these houses that are going up, when it's done, it's going to be a delightful little downtown development. 6 of those homes are sold already, and they haven't even advertised it yet. Every one of those buyers is from out of Warrenville. So we're getting new people to come to town who are the kind of people that we want. They're going to buy homes, they're going to stay here. We're going to get renters that are going to come that may stay for a few years, that may stay for a longer period of time, but Alderman Davalos is exactly right. The demographics have changed dramatically in the last 10 years. Rentals are not anathema. Rentals are now, for many, the preferred way to live because people aren't ready to put down roots or they don't have the resources. There are a lot of people that have good incomes, but they're not good enough to buy a house. You know how expensive it is to buy and maintain a home. You can be a young person making good money, but not in a position to buy a house. You want to live somewhere nice. This type of development attracts those people to Warrenville. They'll come here and they will shop in Warrenville. We have a lot of good shopping in this town. We have a lot of opportunities for entertainment. So, I'm giving you my perspective. Clearly you don't agree with that. As I shared with Mike earlier this week, whatever we decide up here, someone's unhappy. There's no way that you could ever make a decision that everybody's happy. Everyone up here is voting their conscience. Everyone is voting what they think is the best. At least you can give them respect for that if you disagree with their decision. May I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Ashour.
Nay.
Alderman Goodman.
Aye.
Alderman Widener.
Nay.
Alderman Bevere.
Nay.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Alderman Berry.
Aye.
Sorry. Alderman Davalos.
Aye.
Alderman Hoffman.
No.
Mayor votes aye. Motion carries. That is the conclusion of our agenda for this evening. We have nothing under regular agenda, nothing under unfinished business, nothing under new business. No closed session is necessary. We do, however, need a motion to adjourn. Motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.